Anna. Hi, Anna. Sir Ryan, seen.
We asked random people what going organic means to them.
For me, going organic is simply going back to basics. It means prioritizing food, the food you eat, at its most natural or close to its natural or original state.
I believe that going organic means promising yourself in avoiding commercialized or processed things.
Going organic for me means consuming healthy food because it's non-GMO, it has less pesticides, and it's grown by renewable resources.
Going organic actually is discovering the real roots in terms of how you take care, cultivate any kind of produce.
According to the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movement, or IFOAM, organic agriculture is a production system that sustains the health of soils, ecosystems, and people. In general, going organic often only pertains to using and consuming food items that have been produced using natural methods, without the use of chemicals and other artificial substances. Most people, when they hear the phrase going organic, they often relate it to living a healthy lifestyle or even dieting. While this is true, going organic means something even more. The need to go organic is more obvious than ever. When it comes to the environment, in 2012, the Philippines only emitted 86,180 kilotons of carbon dioxide. As of 2021, the Philippines now emits 145,420 kilotons of carbon dioxide. Dioxide emission is the primary reason for the increasing negative effects of climate change. There is also an impending problem where the country might lack farmers soon, since the average age of farmers now are currently at 53 years old, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. This is because opportunities for a sustainable and profitable livelihood in farming has yet to improve in promising rates in the Philippines. We at Naturland view going organic as a holistic approach to ensuring sustainability. While you may enjoy the benefits of going organic within yourself initially, the farmer who produced the products you consume is given a fair chance at building a livelihood through his farm. The soil where your products came from also has less chances of being eroded right away. Supporting organic products also mean less demand for products that use methods that have adverse effects to the environment. Given what you know now, what would be your answer to the question, what does going organic mean to you? For more information about going organic, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Naturland Philippines YouTube channel. How to include organic products in your lifestyle. Starting your journey in including organic products in your lifestyle in today's modern world is now easier and more accessible. There are several ways you can include organic food in your diet. Look for stores that sell organic food in your area and buy organic products from there. Visit farmers markets and ask the farmers about their practices. Many cities now have organic farmers markets where farmers sell their organic produce directly to consumers. Or you can join a food delivery service offering organic products. This is a great way to ensure that your food is organic and fresh. Here are 3 tips on how to start. Step 1. Learn to identify certified organic products based on trusted certification labels. By incorporating organic food in your diet, you can enjoy the benefits of healthier and more nutritious food, while also supporting sustainable and environmentally friendly agricultural practices. If you are not buying organic food directly from the farmers, then organic certification labels will help you to be sure about the quality of the products you are buying. The label ensures that a certain food was produced using organic practices as defined in the related organic standards. Organic agriculture standards are developed and maintained by various organizations such as governments, non-governmental organizations, and sector associations. There are several types of organic logos that consumers in the Philippines may come across. Some examples include USDA Organic. This is a certification from the United States Department of Agriculture that is recognized in many countries around the world. The same is for EU Organic. This certification is issued by the European Union. In the future, you will also be able to find more and more products branded Naturland. We are a non-profit organization that certifies organic products based on a set of internationally recognized standards. We at Naturland aim to promote environmental protection and natural resource conservation through organic farming practices, and we have been doing this for 40 years. We are also the first association to introduce social responsibility in its organic standards, ensuring that working condition and human rights are also part of the products you eat. Step 2. Identify which products you often use and make the switch. It is now easier than ever to search for organic alternatives for the products we commonly use. Try making a list of products that you often consume and search for their organic alternatives. For example, If you are fond of vegetables, do look for organic options. If you can't buy directly from an organic farmer, then look for the organic labels you can trust. Step 3. Be consistent. The good thing about going organic is that it is very sustainable. Unlike diet fads that require you to give up certain food groups, going organic simply means switching to organic versions of the food you already eat. It doesn't deprive you, so you're more likely to stick to it. Beside imported organic products, you might also be able to find organic certified products coming from the Philippines, bearing our national organic logo. Organic production in the Philippines is regulated and supported by a dedicated legislation, the Republic Act N 11511. There you have it. We hope that these tips can propel you to start your journey to including organic products in your lifestyle. For more information about anything and everything organic, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Naturland Philippines. We asked random people what going organic means to them.
For me, going organic is simply going back to basics. It means prioritizing food, the food you eat, at its most natural or close to its natural or original state.
I believe that going organic means promising yourself in avoiding commercialized or processed things.
Going organic for me means consuming healthy food because it's non-GMO, tests less pesticides, and it's grown by renewable resources.
Going organic actually is discovering the real roots in terms of how you take care, cultivate any kind of produce.
According to the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movement, or IFOM, organic agriculture is a production system that sustains the health of soils, ecosystems, and people. In general, going organic often only pertains to using and consuming food items that have been produced using natural methods, without the use of chemicals and other artificial substances. Most people, when they hear the phrase going organic, they often relate it to living a healthy lifestyle or even dieting. While this is true, going organic means something even more. The need to go organic is more obvious than ever. When it comes to the environment, in 2012, the Philippines only emitted 86,180 kilotons of carbon dioxide. As of 2021, the Philippines now emits 145,420 kilotons of carbon dioxide. Dioxide emission is the primary reason for the increasing negative effects of climate change. There is also an impending problem where the country might lack farmers soon, since the average age of farmers now are currently at 53 years old, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. This is because opportunities for a sustainable and profitable livelihood in farming has yet to improve in promising rates in the Philippines. We at Naturland view going organic as a holistic approach to ensuring sustainability. While you may enjoy the benefits of going organic within yourself initially, the farmer who produced the products you consume is given a fair chance at building a livelihood through his farm. The soil where your products came from also has less chances of being eroded right away. Supporting organic products also mean less demand for products that use methods that have adverse effects to the environment. Given what you know now, what would be your answer to the question, what does going organic mean to you? For more information about going organic, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Naturland Philippines YouTube channel. How to include organic products in your lifestyle. Starting your journey in including organic products in your lifestyle in today's modern world is now easier and more accessible. There are several ways you can include organic food in your diet. Look for stores that sell organic food in your area and buy organic products from there. Visit farmers markets and ask the farmers about their practices. Many cities now have organic farmers markets where farmers sell their organic produce directly to consumers. Or you can join a food delivery service offering organic products. This is a great way to ensure that your food is organic and fresh. Here are 3 tips on how to start. Step 1. Learn to identify certified organic products based on trusted certification labels. By incorporating organic food in your diet, you can enjoy the benefits of healthier and more nutritious food, while also supporting sustainable and environmentally friendly agricultural practices. If you are not buying organic food directly from the farmers, then organic certification labels will help you to be sure about the quality of the products you are buying. The label ensures that a certain food was produced using organic practices as defined in the related organic standards. Organic agriculture standards are developed and maintained by various organizations such as governments, non-governmental organizations, and sector associations. There are several types of organic logos that consumers in the Philippines may come across. Some examples include USDA Organic. This is a certification from the United States Department of Agriculture that is recognized in many countries around the world. The same is for EU Organic. This certification is issued by the European Union. In the future, you will also be able to find more and more products branded Naturland. We are a non-profit organization that certifies organic products based on a set of internationally recognized standards. We at Naturland aim to promote environmental protection and natural resource conservation through organic farming practices, and we have been doing this for 40 years. We are also the first association to introduce social responsibility in its organic standards, ensuring that working condition and human rights are also part of the products you eat. Step 2. Identify which products you often use and make the switch. It is now easier than ever to search for organic alternatives for the products we commonly use. Try making a list of products that you often consume and search for their organic alternatives. For example, if you are fond of vegetables, do look for organic options. If you can't buy directly from an organic farmer, then look for the organic labels you can trust. Step 3. Be consistent. The good thing about going organic is that it is very sustainable. Unlike diet fads that require you to give up certain food groups, going organic simply means switching to organic versions of the food you already eat. It doesn't deprive you, so you're more likely to stick to it. Beside imported organic products, you might also be able to find organic certified products coming from the Philippines, bearing our national organic logo. Organic production in the Philippines is regulated and supported by a dedicated legislation, the Republic Act N 11511. There you have it. We hope that these tips can propel you to start your journey to including organic products in your lifestyle. For more information about anything and everything organic, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Naturland Philippines. We asked random people what going organic means to them.
For me, going organic is simply going back to basics. It means prioritizing food, the food you eat, at its most natural or close to its natural or original state.
I believe that going organic means promising yourself in avoiding commercialized or processed things.
Going organic for me means consuming healthy food because it's non-GMO, tests less pesticides, and it's grown by renewable resources.
Going organic actually is discovering the real roots in terms of how you take care, cultivate any kind of produce.
According to the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movement, or IFOM, organic agriculture is a production system that sustains the health of soils, ecosystems, and people. In general, going organic often only pertains to using and consuming food items that have been produced using natural methods, without the use of chemicals and other artificial substances. Most people, when they hear the phrase going organic, they often relate it to living a healthy lifestyle or even dieting. While this is true, going organic means something even more. The need to go organic is more obvious than ever. When it comes to the environment, in 2012, the Philippines only emitted 86,180 kilotons of carbon dioxide. As of 2021, the Philippines now emits 145,420 kilotons of carbon dioxide. Dioxide emission is the primary reason for the increasing negative effects of climate change. There is also an impending problem where the country might lack farmers soon, since the average age of farmers now are currently at 53 years old, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. This is because opportunities for a sustainable and profitable livelihood in farming has yet to improve in promising rates in the Philippines. We at Naturland view going organic as a holistic approach to ensuring sustainability. While you may enjoy the benefits of going organic within yourself initially, the farmer who produced the products you consume is given a fair chance at building a livelihood through his farm. The soil where your products came from also has less chances of being eroded right away. Supporting organic products also mean less demand for products that use methods that have adverse effects to the environment. Given what you know now, what would be your answer to the question, what does going organic mean to you? For more information about going organic, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Naturland Philippines YouTube channel.
Afternoon, everyone. We shall start in a few minutes, but before anything else, here are just a few reminders. Please make sure that your microphone are on mute or turned off throughout the duration of the program. Should you have any questions and concerns during the program, please let us know through the chat box. Our staff will be ready to assist you. And this event will be recorded in its entirety, so please be advised that the recording of this event in full or in part may be used for Naturland's information and promotional materials as we deem necessary or appropriate. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan na imbag nga malom tayo amin. Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's event is the fourth installment of the Naturland Philippines live stream series to promote organic agriculture and lifestyle in the Philippines. It carries the theme hashtag Back to Roots, organic agriculture and sustainable living on the lens of indigenous peoples. I'd like to greet everyone. Happy and meaningful Indigenous Peoples Month. Yes, October is actually designated as Indigenous Peoples Month commemoration in the Philippines. Thus, it's high time we recognize our indigenous peoples and their contributions to sustainability. Though they compose only at least 10% of the overall Filipino population, they play an imperative role in ensuring the future of our country. Take it from the United Nations, the indigenous peoples are the last hope of the planet. That puts to spotlight the weight of indigenous culture in protecting both the earth and humanity. In the same way, we Filipinos acknowledge the role that our indigenous countrymen continue to play to protect the environment, which in turn protects us from looming threats, especially climate change. So today we draw lessons from them. What is it that makes them champions of sustainability? Why is their value system more relevant than ever? How do we apply their sustainability practices and values in this modern age? Let's delve more on these as we listen to our esteemed speakers. Again, a happy and meaningful Indigenous Peoples Month to everyone. I'm actually an Ibaloy, so that's an indigenous group in the Cordilleras in the northern region of the Philippines. So happy Indigenous Peoples Month to me and to my fellow Indigenous Peoples or IP. I am Ryan Bestra and I will be your host for today. Our program has officially started and we are pleased to welcome you all to this fourth live stream. Feel free to engage with us, dear participants. As we go on with the program, if you have questions, you have comments, please use the chat box. On another note, some of you may be wondering what Naturland is. To give you an overview of Naturland and how it is tackling agricultural decline through organic agriculture, here is a short video.
Welcome to the Naturland Philippines YouTube channel. We created this channel to share with you the great news that together we can build an organic future. We are one of the largest international organic farmers associations in the world, and we have built a network of certified organic producers, processors, and retailers in 60 countries, including the Philippines, one of the 18 mega biodiverse countries in the world. In this channel, you are in for a journey wherein you will learn everything and anything about what it means to be organic and how you can take part in bridging the gap between the farmers, the consumers, and the environment. In the Philippines, we already have 3,270 smallholder farmers with our certification. We hope that with your help, we can grow this number and sustain our support for them as they bring their organic quality produce to the stores that also support our cause. So what are you waiting for? One way to start building our organic future is to share this great news. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And together, let's take it to heart the guiding organic and social principles of Naturland. We are organic. We are the future. Together, organic worldwide.
All right, so I hope that video gave you a glimpse of what Naturland is. And if you want to learn more, please follow or like the Facebook page of Naturland and also subscribe to their YouTube channel. That's Naturland Philippines. Before I introduce our first speaker, I'd like to know the thoughts of our audience this afternoon. So we have viewers in the Zoom room, and we also have viewers on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'd like to know, what do you think about the theme of our live stream today? So our theme is hashtag Back to Roots, organic agriculture and sustainable living on the lens of indigenous peoples. So what do you think of this theme? And allow me to read some comments from our participants. Okay, I'll be giving you a minute or so to give your comment. So yes, please use the chat box here on Zoom, or if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can also use the comment box. Okay, so someone said, Marilyn, one of the viewers, is saying, it is like saying back to basic, right? Yes, back to basic nga. And some of the participants are also greeting you again. Happy Indigenous Peoples Month. All right, so just keep your comments coming, and as we go along with the program, with the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box for that. Okay, so we have more comments coming in. So someone is saying it's honoring what Earth gives. Oh, I like that. Honoring what Earth gives. It's looking back at how old people farmed. Not necessarily old, no, not the age, but the people from the past. Okay, so it's going back to where it really started. Nice. And then someone said this is very timely, and yes. We are making leaps and bounds in technology, but we need to remain true to our roots and need to remember the ways of the past. It's about the traditional farming practices, taking care of the land, celebrating and learning from indigenous knowledge. Okay, these are really, really good comments. Thank you so much for providing your comments. Keep them coming. But allow me to proceed to our first topic. All right, are you guys ready? I'm sure you're excited to learn more about the topic for today. Our first speaker will share the indigenous lifestyle of coexisting with nature, including the preparation of food using heirloom ingredients from backyard gardens and wild plants from the forest or other natural ecosystems. Moreover, the speaker will present some heirloom and wild plants that are commonly consumed as food and beverage, and how the indigenous peoples have been sustainably harvesting and taking care of such. More importantly, the speaker will relate such lifestyle to how modern people, especially those living in the cities, can grow their own food that are pesticide-free. To make it more relatable, the speaker will also share his encounters with various individuals, including city folks who are able to sustainably produce food with what is readily available, including recycled plastic containers. Our speaker, Chef J.R. Royal, is the current host of one of GMA Network shows entitled Farm to Table. I'm sure you've seen this. I've seen some of the episodes. They're great. They're awesome. So the show features cooking meals using fresh ingredients from the farm or nature. Chef J.R. Royal's love for food and food preparation began in his youth, growing up in a family where each person liked to have a contribution to the table. He pursued a career in the culinary arts and worked in the kitchens of restaurants and hotels, working his way up to the post of executive chef. His Igorot and Bicolano roots, his background and interest in farming, skills in both rustic and modern cooking methods are truly remarkable qualities. In 2013, he won ABS-CBN's Master Chef Pinoy edition. Let us all welcome our first speaker, Chef JR. Take it away, Chef.
Hi, everyone. It is a pleasure, of course, to be here with you guys, and appreciate everyone's, freeing up their afternoon so they could learn more about natural farming, organic farming, and basically indigenous practices that have helped shape not just the farming scene, but as well as the culinary industry. So thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your afternoon with us. And of course, I'm deeply honored to be here today, not only as a culinary artist, but as a member of the indigenous community that has thrived for generations by living off the fruits of the land. And maybe I speak before you on the vital topic of sustainably sourcing our ingredients and how this practice has not only shaped my culinary journey, but has also enriched my understanding of the importance of knowing seasonal ingredients. Now, for generations, my community has lived in harmony with the land, learning to respect and appreciate the gifts it provides. We understand that the land is not just a provider of sustenance, but also a delicate, interconnected ecosystem. Now, for us, Igorots, it is more than just a source of food. It is a reflection of our culinary identity, our connection to our ancestors, and our responsibility to future generations. Now, sustainability for us is not merely a buzzword, but a way of life. It's deeply ingrained in our culture and traditions. We have learned that taking care of the land, forests, and waterways ensures that they, in turn, take care of us. This knowledge has guided our food practices, and it's a principle I carry with me into my culinary endeavors. One of the most significant lessons I've learned from my indigenous community is the importance of knowing and respecting the seasons. In our culture, the changing seasons are not just markers of time. They are guides for our culinary practices. Each season offers a unique bounty of ingredients, and understanding and utilizing these seasonal ingredients is not only a way to preserve our culture, but a path to a sustainable living. Now, let me explain why this is important. When we source ingredients in season, we are not only respecting the natural cycles of the land, but also preserving the ecological balances. It allows plants and animals to regenerate, ensuring a continuous supply of food for years to come. By adhering to the seasons, we are also reducing the need for excessive resources such as energy, water, and pesticides, which are often required to grow out-of-season produce. This is a direct contribution to environmental conservation. Now, furthermore, when we cook with consciously sourced ingredients, the results are undeniably superior in flavor and quality. The vibrant freshness of a ripe tomato in the summer, of the earthy richness of a root vegetable in the Burr months, simply cannot be replicated when they are out of season. When we celebrate these seasonal nuances, we pay homage to the land that sustains us. Natural farming is of paramount importance in today's world, as it has a profound impact on the environment and offers numerous physical and mental benefits. Let me just cite some key importance and impacts of living sustainably. Number one, as we have mentioned during the intro video, it reduces carbon footprint. It also helps us in conservation of natural resources, biodiversity preservation, waste reduction, cleaner air and water, of course, conservation of energy, and reduction of land degradation. Now, I mentioned physical health and mental health. Natural farming or organic farming definitely has a great impact on our physicality and, more importantly, on our mental health. Now, some of the things that we want to highlight would be it definitely will improve physical activity or physical health. It is a physically demanding endeavor, and of course, logically, it keeps your body moving. So it definitely has an impact in your physical aspect. It reduces exposure to toxins. Alam naman nating lahat yan. It definitely reduces stress. Now, more importantly, natural farming or organic farming, one of the practices that we have been doing in our end, in the mountain provinces of Barlig, other areas, other municipalities, there is the community engagement. Not only that we keep a connection with our nature, but also with our indigenous people as well, preserving the practices that we have. Now, of course, logically, it will have financial savings if you grow your own food, specifically organically. Then I guess the amount that you would have to shed or to invest for your sustenance is very minimal. And of course, connection to nature, empowerment, and ethical fulfillment. Many people find personal fulfillment in living in alignment with their ethical beliefs and values by making choices that promote sustainability. Now, I would just like to add also some of the importance or the important aspects that organic farming, not just from an indigenous member, but also an overview. Now, holistic relationship with nature, it's very important. Indigenous communities often have a deeply spiritual and holistic connection to the land. Our practices are rooted in the belief that nature is interconnected and that humans are just one part of the intricate web of life. This perspective reminds us of the importance of respecting and living in harmony with the natural world. Of course, there is also traditional ecological knowledge, because indigenous cultures have accumulated a wealth of traditional ecological knowledge over generations. Our deep understanding of local ecosystems, plants, and animals has enabled us to practice sustainable agriculture, hunting, and gathering for centuries. Of course, cultural preservation. Sustainable living is often an integral part of indigenous cultures as it helps preserve traditions and knowledge passed down through generations. This is a reminder of the importance of cultural preservation and the role of sustainable living in cultural identity. Conservation and stewardship. Indigenous communities are often exemplary stewards of their environments. As you can see naman, the sceneries that we have up north is still breathtaking up until this point. So it's innate in our culture to really care for our nature and to recognize the importance that it brings to our lives. Also, of course, respect for wildlife. Now, indigenous people have a deep respect for wildlife and often have traditions that promote ethical hunting and fishing practices. These practices can be valuable models for responsible resource management. Now, by choosing to source our ingredients sustainably and in harmony with the seasons, I have discovered a deep sense of connection and gratitude for the land that has nurtured my people for centuries. It's an appreciation that is both spiritual and practical. It has informed my approach to culinary artistry. And as a culinary artist, I've found that cooking with seasonal, sustainably sourced ingredients is not limiting. Rather, it's liberating. It inspires creativity and innovation. It encourages me to explore new combinations and techniques. It challenges me to craft dishes that honor traditions while pushing the boundaries of taste and presentation. Now, in my restaurants, I've made it a point to work with local farmers and foragers who understand the value of seasonal ingredients. This collaboration is a celebration of community and a commitment to a sustainable practice. It means that my menu is constantly evolving, reflecting the changing seasons and the treasures they bring. It ensures that my customers experience the most authentic and flavorful dishes possible. Now, in conclusion, sourcing our ingredients sustainably and honoring the seasons is not only a responsibility but a profound privilege. It connects us to the land, to our heritage, and to a sustainable future. It inspires culinary creativity and elevates the dining experience. I urge all of you, as consumers and food enthusiasts, to consider the origins of your ingredients, to appreciate the changing seasons, and to join us in this delicious journey towards a more sustainable, flavorful, and responsible future. Now, thank you for your attention, and may your culinary adventures be both a tribute to the past and a promise to the future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Chef JR. A round of virtual applause for Chef JR. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, kindly click the like or the heart react. And or on Zoom, I think you can also give your reactions, right? So let's give Chef JR our heart reacts. You can also give your comments. What did you think of what Chef JR said? But for me, what really struck me was when he said sustainability as a way of life for indigenous people. And as a fellow IP and as an environmentalist, I'd say I'm more connected to the earth, I'd say. And this could be the reason why I became an environmentalist, because as an IP, this is our way of life. And Chef JR also talked about the many different advantages of natural farming, from health to helping the community to contributing to climate action. And a lot of the IP practices, they're preserving culture, they are respecting wildlife and nature, and there are so many benefits of trying to copy or maybe follow the ways of the indigenous people. So once again, Chef JR, thank you so much for those inspiring words. And for our participants, for our audience, what did you think of the talk of Chef JR? If you have questions, write them down on the chat box. We'll get to that later during the open forum. But for now, I'd also like to ask you, have you been to places in the Philippines where you observed in how indigenous peoples protect their culture and natural environment? Are there places in the Philippines you've been to where you have seen indigenous people protecting their culture and our environment? So let us know through the chat box. So let me check our messages. Of course, we are receiving a lot of love for Chef JR for his speech. Someone said, indeed, sustainability is not just a buzzword, but a way of life for IPs. Yes. And for our audience, once again, have you observed places in the Philippines where there are indigenous people also protecting their culture and the environment? Obviously, in the Cordilleras, as a Cordilleran myself, that's what I see in Cordillera, yeah? Like a lot of the indigenous peoples, a lot of the Iguros and Cordillerans, they strive to protect the environment. And I'm sure there are also a lot of places here in the Philippines, not just in the Cordilleras. And speaking of other indigenous peoples, I think we can move on to our next speaker. We'll actually talk about other groups of indigenous peoples. Our second topic for today is titled Tracing Roots: What Modern Farmers Can Learn from Indigenous Peoples on Sustainable Agriculture. This topic will generally revolve around some of the sustainable agricultural practices of IPs in the Philippines. The speaker will likewise discuss how these farming practices ensured food security in the IP community for generations, and how the preservation of these is benefiting the entire country, including those living in the cities. The speaker then shares how these indigenous knowledge systems can be harmonized with modern culture to ensure food and environmental sustainability for both present and future generations. So our next speaker who will give an enlightenment on this topic is Mr. Raf Jonicio. So Raf, who is the co-founder of Make a Difference Travel, a social, tourism, and community-based environmental travel group working in Luzon and Visayas. He's also a co-founder of the Circle Hostel and the Plastic Solution, an enterprise building an inclusive plastic-free economy. For years, he has been working with the Aitas of Zambales to create sustainable livelihoods while restoring degraded mountains and rivers. He dreams of a world in balance where poverty of people and planet are vanquished through the efforts of individual citizens of the world. So let us all welcome our second speaker, Mr. Raf Jonicio.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you.
Hi,
really appreciate your introduction. Everyone, I prepared a video recording just to make sure that my internet situation does not interfere with the program. So I was wondering if the tech team could play the video of the presentation, right? Hopefully that overcomes the internet stuff. Yeah, very sorry for my delay. We had some challenges in one of our programs earlier today.
No worries, Raf. We know you're quite busy. So yes, we'll be watching a recorded video of Raf, but Raf will be joining us later on during the opening forum for your questions.
Yes. Yeah. This is better. This morning I had a talk and I got disconnected twice, so a recording is better.
Okay, that's great, Raf. Thanks. So yeah, while waiting for the video, allow me to read some of your comments from my question earlier. So I was talking about other indigenous peoples in the Philippines. So someone mentioned again the Igorots from Natonin Mountain Province, and of course there are also indigenous people in Mindanao who are working on preserving their cultures, and some are still reviving it. Right. Okay, so I guess our video is ready.
Hi, everyone. Good day. My name is Raf, and I'm here to talk about regenerative travel. So if you'll allow me, I'd like to share my screen so that we can chat a bit more about this topic that is very, very relevant, very important. In fact, we actually just presented this to the Secretary of Tourism May 2023. So one thing that I'd like to share is this story. It's a story about indigenous people talking about a dam being built in their land, right? So it says here that for us indigenous people, we want progress, but the progress that you speak of, he was talking to the dam builder and the development company, is different from the meaning of progress for us indigenous people. For us, progress means taking care of our bodies of water and our land, right? And this kind of perspective, taking care of land and sea, is not very common in businesses, but it is the norm for indigenous groups, right? And so this brings me to our pillars of sustainable and regenerative economy, right? Which we can apply to the travel industry. So it consists of community, so people, right? Nature, planet, the economy, so it must be profitable for it to be sustainable, and your personal well-being, meaning you as the doer must not be a martyr, right? When you have all these together, then it's sustainable. And if we can push it further, if we can make it so that it grows the economy, encourages and makes culture thrive, or that it builds the environment and restores it or makes you healthier, that's regenerative, right? And so I'd like to share some stories around that. This is me surfing. I like to surf. This is in Siargao, right? And my love for surfing was born in La Union, where I currently have a surf hostel called the Circle Hostel. It's being renovated as we speak to get upgraded. But a couple of years ago, one of my friends, Paulo Soler, who is a surf instructor, internationally accredited, posted this picture. And in this picture, he's surfing in a wave of trash, which was very disturbing, right? And what we found out is that there was so much waste around that you get rivers like this. Right? This is very, very disturbing, right? The images, so much waste. And so that plastic trash was bad for tourism. It was bad for fishing, right? It's bad for surfing. Right? And what happened even more was that the plastic started to make its way into the belly of the things we eat. So you like yellowfin tuna. This fish has plastic basura inside its belly. So it's pretty disgusting. We are eating our trash, and even our best international sites have plastic in them. What brands are these, right? What brands are these? I'm sure you've seen them before. Some of you may have tried it, right? We need to change our behavior in terms of how we throw things, right? And basically, what we found over the years is that plastic trash makes food more expensive because it kills fish, creates less food because plastic also poisons corals, right? It creates less income for fishermen, and of course, it's bad for tourism. Tourists don't like to go to a dirty beach, and it means we have less clean playgrounds, right? And this is rooted in our behavior or mindset towards plastic. In this photo, everyone dined in, and yet everyone who dined in with a red circle used takeout cups. Why do you use takeout cups when you dine in? I do not understand why we add trash, but that's how we are at the moment. You and I have to make some changes, right? And so there are some solutions that I'd like to show, right, in terms of plastic, and one of them is recycling, right? So you can use trash and turn it into something strong, right? And so when you're when you're traveling, the plastic waste, please throw it in the right place so that it can be recycled, right? And this short video will show you what it can be recycled to.
Kailangan po magpulot ng basura para po hindi na po maging sanay ng mga pagbaha po. Yung basura po pwede maging bahay. Nakakatulong pa po tayo sa ating kalikasan.
So this is just one of many solutions that you can use, right? There are many ways to use it, and it can be used to build, no? And what's great is that using technology, we can now build cement blocks with partial plastic, about 7% plastic, and they'll be stronger than the standard hollow block, right? So you see, those are standard hollow blocks. This is the Eco Brick. Right? Look at how it's being dropped. That's Nadine Luster's boyfriend, if you're curious. Very strong item, right? So, just to reiterate, right? Pacquiao's punch is 800 psi. These bricks can withstand 800 psi or pounds per square inch. Wind is 300 kph, right? And the standard hollow block is only 170 psi. So the wind will kill it, right? Apart from this, as we travel, we use a lot of plastic in the process because it's convenient when we travel. But you have to remember that every piece of plastic that we use means it produces 3 times the amount of carbon. That's driving the global boiling temperatures. It's so hot these days, no? And that's part of it. Climate change, one of the drivers is the unlimited use of plastic, which we need to curb and change. No? So for perspective, globally, we produce 51 billion tons of CO2 per year. And the Paris Climate Treaty in 2015 set a goal of 0 carbon emissions. So my question for you, what is the annual carbon footprint produced of the average Filipino? Is it 1.27, 20.44, or 40.53, right? Put an emoticon in the chat based on your preferred answer. And if your answer is 1.27, you're correct. 1.27 Filipino, 20 is American, and 40 is Middle Eastern, right? We don't produce a lot. So again, if you want to fight climate change, meaning hotter days, stronger rain, bigger storms, longer drought, if you don't like those, then reduce carbon, reduce plastic, right? And let's push for a more circular economy, right? When we're traveling, dispose of your waste properly. This is just an example of how waste can be segregated, right? This company in particular, Greenhouse, has about 30 plus hubs across the country. So that's a good thing. Again, there are other options that you can use. These are the kinds of plastic that are accepted. Take note that the plastic must be clean and dry because it is a raw material for building something, right? And you must segregate as much as possible, right? Here's an example of a segregation setup at home, right? Plastic is different from everything else. And there are drop-off points across the city. And there are some in the countryside as well, right? Here's what your plastic trash can turn into. Again, it's only 7% plastic for every brick, right? The rest is cement. No? And you can, 9%. And you can build a lot of things with it. No? Walkways. And there are laws now that will help make companies who use a lot of plastic more responsible for cleaning it up. That said, you and I still need to clean it up. This is the EPR law, right? Now, another thing about regenerative travel is that you need a lot of education so that people can do it properly, right? And so some of my friends and I launched a campaign to try to make this mindset of reducing plastic waste, of segregating it properly more popular. Here's our BBC feature about that.
When I talk to people in poor communities, they think that a plastic wrapper for biscuits is the same as a banana peel.
So I won't finish it, but safe to say that we tried to reduce, reuse, and recycle, right? We tried going with Miss Earth on public school tours, right? A lot of policies were changed when we were able to explain to people why plastic is not the best item to use regularly, right? Schools changed it, corporations changed it, and even indigenous people who we work with in travel programs have said, we will keep our rivers clean in the mountain so that you can keep the seaside clean. We will do our part, right? This was the elder and vice chieftain at Erlinda in a talk during the International Coastal Cleanup in Subic. She was explaining their commitment as a community as well, right? And here are just some examples, because when you travel, you're always eating on the go, right? Plastic packaging, not good. Compostable packaging, better. But the best is reusable packaging. Or just dine in, guys. No, relax. There are other policies as well that have been changed. So there are laws and municipal ordinances. There are also plastic bag bans that you can use. This resort in particular was very creative, giving rewards to people who cleaned up, right? And then, of course, I'd like to share with you, refillable is more profitable than disposable. It's more profitable and it's less expensive in the future when you're cleaning things up. So we were spreading this message, but we couldn't spread it fast enough, right? And so we wanted to communicate better ideas like this, quality over quantity, right? Or bringing out the takeout kit, right? Or how to recycle. This video is pretty cute, right? Or setting up your own composting program as well. And so, talks weren't enough. And so we thought, well, what's a creative way to tell a story about plastic, right? And the one thing that we thought of was, if we can make things interactive for everyone, right? So this is an interactive sample, right? If you're going on a surf trip, what kind of water and snack do I bring, right? Do you bring a reusable Tupperware? Do you bring a bread in a disposable plastic pack and bottled water, or do you dine in a restaurant, right? They're choices because you want to show people that they have a choice in the plastic issue, right? And you want people to be able to simulate asking questions, huh? So gamifying it, right? And then we have developed a interactive film that allows you to interact with different people so that you can understand how the environment and people come together in the countryside, right? So you can deal with people who, you can ask someone, how do you deal with people who throw waste? You can also ask them about how it affects the fishing industry, right? This is a personal and educational program that we hope captures the heart while feeding the mind with the right information. No? We'll also talk about animals as well, right? It's currently being filmed and produced by a good friend, Adrian Delic, who was an Oscar-nominated director, right? We hope that it goes well. No? After these interactive educational tools, we also have tour programs that are very interactive, right? So these tours bring you to communities. This is the actual travel this time, right? And when we travel, we try to make the programs in such a way that, one, there's zero waste. Two, they promote using native materials, right? And that they also protect the forest, right? So we've lost most of our forests in the Philippines. 3% left in 2016 versus 70% over 100 years ago. Globally, it's about 50% deforestation. So we're actually advanced as the Philippines, right? And without trees, it gets a lot hotter, right? Look at the temperature difference on the top and bottom. And one of the challenges is that there's drought, there's extreme heat, right? Killing the world's crops. We're suffering in the city because food gets more expensive. There's less water in the countryside. Some rivers have lost 75% of their water. And so what happens? It gets more expensive to produce rice. Us in the city, again, we have a hard time. So when you're traveling, these things are things that we hope you are mindful of and you learn about, right? Every tree can absorb up to 2,000 liters of water in its root system, right? And so recently we had the flooding in Bulacan and Pampanga. Well, that's because there are no more trees in the Central Luzon plains and in the Sierra Madre facing Central Luzon and partially in the Cordillera as well, right? And so storms today are stronger. That's why we need much more trees to absorb the water, right? And I'd like to share with you a quick video of how a forest prevents a flood, right? So if you look here, you'll see there are two boxes, right? The box on your right has plants and they're watering it. The box on your left has no plants and they're watering it. The box on your left has water flowing out very quickly from the top. That's a landslide. That's a flash flood. That's a topsoil, the healthiest soil where all the fertilizer is. Whoever's planting in that left box after, you need to apply new fertilizer. Whereas on the right, look, the water is coming out very slowly at the bottom. And that's a river, that's a waterfalls. That's very clean water that we can enjoy. That's natural flood control, right? Just look at the volume of water on the left versus the right. It's different, you know? And this is what we want people to understand, right? And so we take people on a tour to the communities that steward and take care of these places, right? And part of that tour is you contributing and planting with them. Here are results from the last couple of years. Yeah. So planting for the environment is important, but we also plant for the economy, and that's where regenerative travel can help, especially if you understand regenerative agroforestry. Yeah. So there we go, right? Being able to plant and just grow the economy, right? And so communities are important, and we love our travel to communities, the Aitas, the Dumagat, because communities are part of the solution. They make the seaweed for bioplastic. They make the cassava for cassava bags, right, that are biodegradable. And bringing people to see recycling in person can really show you that there is hope to clean up our planet, right? And this one example, University of Sydney, they learned about circularity. They went island hopping, saw the dirty beaches. They went to the tribe, helped restore the forest. They went to recycling centers, helped pick up trash and recycle it. It's something that we can all do, right? This one, British School Manila, hands-on sustainability, measuring water quality with us for rivers, right? And so again, we're super thankful for this program. We've got more in the pipeline, and we hope you can join some of our regenerative or circular tours as well, right? One thing I'd like to leave you with as food for thought is that Earth Overshoot Day was recently, July 27. This is the day that the world uses more resources than it produces, right? The last time that Earth Overshoot Day was in December was in the 1960s, 70s, right? Today, we use more than one Earth worth of resources every year. This needs to change, right? Sustainability is good. So if you can be sustainable, please be. But regenerative is better, and we really need it. Our forest needs it. We've got a waste issue. We need to fix that as well, right? So let's build, let's tell stories, let's show examples, and let's replicate and get people involved, right? And so with that, thank you. I hope you can follow our Instagram and our Facebook. It's Mad Travel or Mad Travel _PH. We also have a TikTok. I forgot to put it here, right? If you want to follow me, mine is Raf Junicio. I'm gonna just put it in the chat here as well, right? If you want to follow me personally, I post a lot about educational programs, right? And just things that I find interesting. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity, and have a great day. Never stop learning, everyone.
Thank you so much, Raf, for that presentation. That was amazing. I'm honestly, I'm amazed with the so many efforts and so many projects that Mad Travel has been doing, from sustainable tourism to tackling plastic waste to working with the indigenous communities to restoring forests. That was that video where you showed a barren area that was reforested. That was really amazing. So let's all give a round of applause for our speaker, Raf. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, do like us. Please give the video a like. You can also put your comments, your questions, which will be answered later during the open forum. And of course, on the Zoom chat box, yes, we're seeing a lot of applauses for Raf. Do give your comments of thanks, and we'll get to your questions later during the open forum. For now, in one word, I'd like to ask our listeners and those who are watching, in one word, how would you describe the role of indigenous peoples in the country's sustainability? Yeah, so Chef JR and Rap have talked about the different roles of indigenous peoples in protecting the environment, in promoting sustainability. So what word would you use to describe their role in the country's sustainability? All right, so I'll give you a minute to respond to that. Crucial, preservation. Yes, I was actually thinking of the word preservation earlier as well. Crucial, definitely. Inclusive, essential, yes. Model, definitely. We can learn a lot from indigenous people. They can serve as models, right? And what indigenous peoples group do you know in the Philippines? So earlier we've already mentioned, one is Ibaloy, of course, which is part of the bigger group, the Cordillerans or the Igorots. Other indigenous groups that you know of, the Aitas, of course, the Manobos, Gaunon, the Aitas, the Mangyans. And if you remember what I said earlier, we only comprise 10% of the population. Okay, we also have the Tagolwanan, the Tumagats, the Ati Visayas, so many indigenous peoples group in the Philippines. So again, we dedicate this live stream, this presentation to all our fellow indigenous peoples in the Philippines. And happy Indigenous Peoples Month to all of you. Right, so now I think we're ready for the open forum. And for our open forum, we will be joined by another esteemed guest, Mr. Conrad Haflesh, who serves as a senior advisor of Naturland for international development. He holds a BA in English, Philosophy, and Linguistics from the University of Johannesburg and has continuously enhanced his knowledge and skills through advanced training programs in organic agriculture development since 2008. He's also the founder of Starfish Organic, a consultancy and training enterprise, and has worked with iFoam Organics International for over 8 years as the Academy and Programs Manager, and later as the Head of Capacity Development. As an expert in the organic value chain, he focuses on capacity development, knowledge management, and expert consultancy services on various organic agriculture development topics for a wide range of clients. So, Conrad, would you like to say hi to our viewers?
Yes, mabuhay. Good to be back in the Philippines, even if it is virtually. It's really great to be back and to be part of such an esteemed panel. So happy to be here.
Mabuhay, Conrad, and thank you for joining us. And may I request both our speakers, Chef JR and Raf, to also join us for the open forum. And again, if you have questions, feel free to write them down on the chat box. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, use the comment box for your questions or your comments. Right. So are we with let's wait for our speaker. So yes, but we welcome back Chef JR and Raf. Thank you again for your amazing presentations. And we actually have our first question, and this first question goes to both Raf and Chef JR. Both of you already mentioned the importance of natural farming, of agroforestry, but can you expound more on the importance of accelerating the shift to organic agriculture in the Philippines? Maybe we can start with Chef JR.
Well, more than ever, I think it's really crucial at this day and age to really hashtag go back to roots. Go back to our roots of natural farming. Not only that we have seen results and the impact that, monocropping and other non-sustainable farming practices impact our health. So that alone should really put everybody's perspective into concentrating how we can learn from old ways and basically how we can make it translate or how we can make it applicable to our modern lifestyle. I guess more than anything, aside from all of the environmental impacts that we can visibly see, our health. Our health should be one of the most important aspects that we should focus on. It ties up our health basically depend on our sustenance. So I do not know how to stress that enough on the importance of us really making a pivotal change and go back to natural farming.
Thanks, Chef JR. And I totally agree. Like it's really important that some of you mentioned that the IP practices are a model, and that's a way of saying that yeah, we have to follow the better way. It's like back to basic and try to go organic. Raf, anything that you would like to say on this particular question?
Sorry guys, I had someone called and I got so rattled. But
yeah.
I think just on organic, on farming, and on indigenous using indigenous knowledge systems. I think it's important to remember that there are a lot of advances in science in terms of how we understand the natural world today that will be very useful in enhancing or complementing what knowledge is known, right? And perhaps I can give two examples because our area, as you saw in Zambales, our soil situation is not ideal because we have too much volcanic ash, right? And so two things are what's missing in our soil is a structure that holds water and that holds nutrients. So we have a lot of wasted fertilizer. And two of the solutions that popped up, one was biochar, of which we saw is an interesting way to insert structure into the soil and to give it an ability to hold water and to hold nutrients better. The other one was to compost and then ensure that we spray it with like a mycelium spray or like a mushroom tea spray that starts the growth of mushroom root systems underground, which has a similar function to the biochar. It's a net in the soil that holds the nutrients, right? And there are proof of concept implementations in Zambales and around the country, and wherever I see these proof of concepts, the crop is better, the soil is a lot better, right? And then it's able to, I believe, mix well into that system of indigenous knowledge. I'm not an expert in these two, so I can't say with certainty that it is or it is not part of indigenous knowledge, but I heard about it through the scientific community, right? And so just putting those two together, because coming into this as someone who grew up in a very disconnected in a world very disconnected from the Philippines, even if I am Filipino. I often find that the stories that I get from different IP leaders are given a lot of enhanced credibility when I understand the science behind it, right? And perhaps it's that synergy that might be helpful in getting more people on board in the situation, right? More people on board in terms of why do we need to push for indigenous knowledge systems to be spread out, right? Because you can believe the folkloric aspect, you can believe the cultural aspect, or you can look at the scientific aspect of certain things. And I think it brings you to the same outcome. It's just a different road.
Thank you, Raf, for that input. Now we have our second question is for Conrad. Conrad, why do you think indigenous peoples usually are more conscious or appreciative of the need to protect the natural environment?
Just talking about indigenous people, I've been thinking about it, listening to everybody. I would not be described as an IP nearly nowhere in the world, but we have to understand and we have to remember that we are all indigenous peoples of this planet, and we all have to think in that way. I think the difference between what is currently described as indigenous people and indigenous knowledge is kind of sitting in these pockets of knowledge of people who are really still living and practicing in a way that's connected to their tradition. But I think the people who are not living and practicing that way of life are the biggest polluters and the biggest creating way more damage than the indigenous people. But unfortunately, again, the indigenous people are the tribal community sitting in places in Africa where I visited, in India, in Southeast Asia, are suffering the consequences of what the people are doing who have lost their connection with their indigenous roots and with the knowledge. And within the organic definition, it says very clearly that organic agriculture includes tradition, innovation, and science, sort of linking to what the previous speaker was saying about bringing this knowledge together to do that. So I just wanted to share that, and now I need you to remind me of my original question, because I went on a ramble going off onto a different tangent. I apologize, I always do that.
No, but you were actually able to touch on it, like how indigenous people are more connected, or somehow they care more for the environment. But I like your point of saying that we are actually all indigenous people of the planet, and that's how we should think.
Yeah. I think it's just also linking to the issue of sustainability and the use of the planetary resources, which was also brought up, that we are currently using 1.75 planets to work. If we think of the indigenous peoples and the areas in the world where people are not doing that, where they are using way less than their share of the resources of the planet, and the countries that are very removed from their indigenous roots are the ones that are really burning through our resources. If we all lived like the USA, we would need 7 planets to actually survive. And I think that's where, if we look at the knowledge that is sitting with the indigenous people, this is incredible knowledge. The knowledge of biochar was used in the Amazon centuries before the Europeans got there. Centuries before, you had vibrant communities living in the Amazon, living in these, building up. The Amazon has actually been an agroforestry system forever. It's been, this knowledge of agroforestry, which we are now seeing as an innovation in coffee production, and we're seeing it as an innovation that is brought by scientists. Agroforestry is a system that the indigenous people have just been, this is how they operated and how they are still operating. So I think that is where so much of this knowledge is situated, and we need to find ways to translate it into the knowledge that is then accessible to the rest of the world.
Conrad, that's so interesting. I didn't know that it was used in others. Thanks for sharing that. That blew my mind.
Thank you so much, for those insights, Conrad. Back to Chef JR and Raf. You're working with indigenous people. So how do you think can we empower them more in order for them to preserve their culture, especially on their stewardship of the land? Perhaps we can start with Raf and then Chef JR.
Well, empowerment. No? So I'm going to look at it with the lens of how do you empower people in general to take care of the land, right? What I will say is that you need people to connect with the land. You need people to connect with the soil, to connect with the water, to connect with the air. The one thing that I see that is lacking from people who don't care is that they don't understand. And when I say don't understand, they don't know the logic and their heart doesn't care. And there's another segment of people who they know the logic, but they don't understand how it affects their family or their specific area. In their head, oh, it affects them, but not me, so I'm okay, right? And so in terms of empowering people to take care of the land and to respect each other better, which I think in effect will empower everyone better, right? Because it will also break down barriers of discrimination or wrong perspectives. You do need a way to educate, share. Like, what does a coral reef mean to you? If a piece of plastic lands on it and it stays there for a while, the corals 89% like to get sick. So what? But now the coral reef we know produces 1,000 kilos of seafood per hectare per year. Now that's something if you like to eat sushi or sashimi or your sugba or your grilled fish, right? There are a lot of, I find that numbers will hold a lot, right? In our company, we have one guy who's a good friend. He lives right beside the Marikina River, which overflows and has flooded his house several times. And so, to him, the knowledge of 2,000 liters of water per tree is very, very relevant because he's like, oh, so that's it. Like, that can mathematically save my village from flood, right? If I plant in the upland just behind the river that we're in. So there is, I think, a strong educational play on that in terms of like the science behind it and then connecting the dots so that we understand how it affects us. Another side of it would be we also need to break down barriers between groups because the Philippines, right, upon entry to the Philippines, Spain and the rest of the world discovered that the Philippines is very tribal and likes to keep the smaller groups like to keep to themselves, right? And that hasn't changed much. I find that whether I'm in the countryside or whether I'm in the city, people like to stay in their units, right? Because that's their safe space, that's what I'm comfortable with. And unfortunately, everyone's growing up in a society where you hear news about one community and it's generally the wrong story, right? And this news might come from places that you don't even, think about. Could be your grandparents, could be your parents, could be your friends, could be television, right? It could be sensationalized or it could be taken out of context. I've come across different situations where because no one took the time to explain to me what, let's say, Mindanao was like, then I visited Mindanao with the wrong notion because that's the only thing I knew. Until I met someone who became a friend, and that friend shared his perspective, and then the friends grew, and then suddenly now I have a real picture of what life in Mindanao is like. Same goes for life in a countryside community, right? And so I think those perspectives are very needed, right? And we do have to be able to share with each other in that sense now, thinking about how we communicate. And I think that's why, you know, events like this, Ryan and Dan, I mean, they're good events, right? Because it puts on record carefully thought out perspectives that I think personally, you know, we could use more of in school, right? The teachers want to teach, but sometimes they do need more resources to share in that aspect. Yeah, I hope I was able to kind of answer the question with that context. Apologize if it was a bit long.
No, I really like what you said. It's about connection. It's about breaking barriers, and I totally agree. Chef JR?
Sure. Regarding your question, Ryan, I think the simplest solution that I can think of regarding the issues that we are facing in as far as the transfer of knowledge, or basically the practices that we have from indigenous people, not just from indigenous group, but in society in general, is that farming or natural farming, organic farming should be profitable for them, for everybody. I think that's the easiest and the most effective way that we can entice people to go back to roots, go back to our roots. And of course, how we can go there is an entirely different conversation. But for us to make normal people care about our world, care about our heritage, is for them to be financially feasible. I mean, it's really hard to give information or to entice people to do the right way if they're being flooded by shortcuts, and in turn it becomes, well, in short term becomes more profitable for them. But if we can create an environment, a system that would make it more financially rewarding for our farmers, for our indigenous group, then any other aspects of our conversation, any other issues that we have can be easily addressed. I think that is my stance, having to witness the brain drain that is happening in the Cordilleras, in the Dumagats, in other indigenous groups in the Philippines, is because they can't really sustain normal everyday life with their way of life. So it seems that the progress that we are all achieving is not aligned with how we should be living the first place. So I think next to this conversation, having to recognize the importance of each group, whatever we contribute in the bigger scheme of things, is that we should also discuss how we can make it profitable for everybody.
Thank you so much, Chef JR. I think Rap would like
Hey,
to.
can I
give a
just
comment.
jump? Yeah, can I just jump in? I realized, JR, when you spoke, one of the things we've done with our programs is we get comments from people, hey, I want to experience that, but I can't travel. And so what happened is we started in Zambales and we progressively but we kind of helped organize sites closer and closer to Manila. And then we realized at the end of the day, the two things we want to share with people are manage and reduce your waste, and please plant trees and protect the forest. That's all we want them to do. And protecting the forest in particular, I find is a little harder to communicate because it's such a fluffy aspect for people. But this year we realized that the best way for people to understand the forest is through food, right? And that's why, JR, when you spoke, I was like, oh yeah, we do have this program. We call it Feast from the Forest, right? And what we do is we do the forest talk. We talk about climate mathematics with regards to the forest. but we also talk about the biodiversity of food that comes from the forest, and that is evidenced by we have a tea tasting workshop, so you get to try 3 to 4 teas. Then you have a honey tasting workshop, 3 varieties of honey, different colors, and then a coffee tasting workshop, right? Coffees that are grown in agroforestry areas. And we've only done it twice, but those 2 groups were very, very happy because they're like, oh, I didn't know that you needed these things thrive in a forest setting, right? And so food in particular, very relatable. And if it's communicated well and sold well, then it's also something that you can charge a bit more for because it's a little more experiential, and the education adds importance to the food, right? I mean, in the Philippines, let's face it, like steak for some reason is so expensive compared to beef steak, right? Because there's some sort of like marketing hype around regular steak. Same for pizza, right? Because perhaps there's like a foreign something attached to it. I'm not sure, right? But you can come up with better storylines for local food. And hopefully they're also connected to the conservation or restoration of our environment.
Definitely. I think that's really one of the great ways of promoting all our advocacies is, people tend to shut off when we try to really explain to them the benefits and what's in it for them. So I think what you're doing now, Raf, is you're selling experience. You're letting them experience the beauty, the wonderful memories that you can have by having those avenues where people get to, really take time off and just go back to basics. And I think that's one of the commendable initiatives that our departments in DTI that we can commend is the very aggressive efforts on recognizing tourism spots, ecotourism spots, and I think there's really a great benefit for farmers. Going back to my point earlier that it should be financially rewarding for them as well, aside from teaching people how to live sustainably.
Thank you so much, Raf and Chef JR. Conrad, would you like to add a comment?
Yes, just listening again to Raf and to Chef JR. I realize, I come from the perspective of training and teaching because that's what I'm doing most of my time. It is so extremely important to translate knowledge. It's not just translating into a different language. We're all speaking English here, and English is a lingua franca around the world. But this knowledge multiplication needs to take place. The knowledge the indigenous knowledge that is sitting in a small pocket of the land needs to be translated. It needs to become accessible, and that accessibility. People like you are amazing because you are these knowledge translators. You are the people who come out of an IP environment, you living, working with the people, but you are out here communicating. And I think that becomes so much more important for these indigenous communities to also work at a global level and become a global influencer force, to use a sexy term at the moment. This idea of, because what we are fighting here is a food system that has been developed over decades to be efficient, effective, and profitable for a certain approach, which is the industrial food system approach. For them, pizza makes sense because it's actually a dirt cheap product. It is easy to produce with mass-produced industrial ingredients. Like grains that are grown to just have a lot of gluten and that are developed to work in this kind of food system. While a lot of the indigenous products need more processing, you need fermentation, you need to work with the products to become palatable. because you're taking root products out of the forest, and they might not look or feel like something that we usually eat. And also translating those products into what you're doing, putting it into a restaurant environment. I think these things become extremely important for us, and for that knowledge to spread, that people realize how good this food can be, and then the contribution that they are making. Because nobody wants to kill the planet, not even the people who are working for the big industries. They're not sitting there every night thinking, we want to think of a way to destroy the world, but their mindset has been cultivated by the way that they were taught at university, the way that they were taught that the economic system works. So it really is a systemic change that is needed globally to really shift it. I think it's possible, and more people are realizing it, but not enough. And the knowledge that is embedded in our forests, we still don't know. We don't even know how many species there are in any piece of forest in the world. We think we know. We have not been into the canopies of so many of these forests. We don't, you see these canopy tours and you realize how many hundreds and thousands of species are sitting and living up there that we've never even identified and cataloged, and that we might have solutions to problems, cures for diseases, these sort of things that are sitting there, and we are destroying them when we set up a palm oil plantation. Without thinking, we just bulldoze down the trees. This is insane.
Right.
Sorry, ranting again, but I just.
No, it's okay. This is very, very engaging discussion. And our next question is actually related to what you just said about different perspectives. So we have a question from a viewer on Facebook who asked a very interesting question. So a question from Neo J. Garcia from Facebook. He was saying that there are practices that are unethical from a Western perspective. So, there are indigenous practices, specifically in the culinary field, that might be considered as unethical from a Western perspective. What's your stand on this? Anyone who would like to start? Maybe Chef JR?
Yeah, definitely. Case in point, pinikpikan. I think that's one of the, easiest examples that we can cite when it comes to the issue of ethics. In some cultures, even locally, the way we prepare pinikpikan, it's a traditional chicken dish that we prepare for basically any celebrations, anything that's happening in our lives, we prepare pinikpikan. There are a lot of conversations on how it is being prepared, but I think it's more of understanding the intent. As far as whatever practices any group might be doing, the most important question is the intent. Again, our very good example, pinikpikan, with the process of doing that chicken dish, is our intention to just torture or to just make fun of a living creature, or is it something deeper than that? It's like an homage to the nature. This is how we give thanks to the produce, to the ingredients that we get to harvest, and will serve as a sustenance. And with the process that we have, you can easily see that there is no intention of torture, of any, controversial practices, but it's really embedded in our connection with nature. So I guess there's always a more productive conversation or discourse regarding the subject that different parties will get to understand and have a common ground what is acceptable and what is not. But as a person coming from an IT group, I think there's a lot of things that we need to learn by really deeping dive into the whys, to the reasons why such practices exist.
could I add something to that? I think we sometimes shrink back from our traditional practices. When I grew up, my father used to slaughter chickens in the backyard. And I was very aware of the day that he's slaughtering a chicken because I would see it happen. I would see the chicken being beheaded. I would see the chicken being plucked. And then on Sunday, I will have the chicken on my plate. And this process being in your face, if people are not used to it, they shrink back from it because what they are used to is a pink piece of protein, a fleshy protein in a nicely wrapped square in the shop. They are just removed from the practices. The practices in industrial farming, the way that the chickens are treated in the cages that they live, the way that they are being completely, well, not dehumanized, but turned into just a protein source for us. They are pumped full of antibiotics to keep them healthy so that we can eat them. Those practices are terrible. There's nothing ethical about that. There's nothing ethical about feeding a cow grains in order to build bulk. Cows are not designed to eat grains. When they eat grains, they get sick, and then we have to give them antibiotics and medicines to keep them alive in an environment that they shouldn't be in. But for us, going out into our community, slaughtering a cow or slaughtering a goat in the presence of everybody, in my home country, slaughtering a goat for a wedding, slaughtering a cow for a funeral. These things are part of the tradition, and the slaughter happens with everybody there. This kind of practice might be strange to us because we're not used to seeing that animal die. But when we see an animal dying that will feed us, there's a closer connection to the reality. Our thanks, our appreciation of life and death becomes so much more. And I think this is something that needs translation and it needs explanation. But I would say that the industrial food system, the crime that is committed in the food that is produced on a mass scale exceeds anything that can be done at a local indigenous level.
Thank you. Thank you, Conrad and JR, for this excellent response. The next question is actually for Raf. I think this is related to opening up the IP community. So the question is, how do we prevent negatively impacting the culture of communities that we are opening up, let's say, for ecotourism?
That's a good question. Perhaps there's also another question here I want to kind of address. Right? In terms of IPs, I'll take a step back because this is a principle that applies not just to IPs, but it applies to spots in general, right? So there's this certain code that the surfing community has where certain spots are meant to be secret spots, right? And the underlying reason, at least that I've gathered from that, is because they'd like to protect it and keep it that way because too much tourism can destroy it, right? And so when I look at that cultural snippet, and then I got to talk to someone from the from the NCCA, National Commission of Culture and the Arts. The commissioner's perspective was there are certain spots that you just don't post about, just don't share because it's not ready for a lot of people coming in, right? And for the communities that we're currently working with, we are extremely slow in opening a community, right? It'll be tested several times by myself and then with one or two friends. To be honest, it takes us about a year before we open up a community, right? Especially if I can sense that the community's area might be very easily persuaded by money, or if it might be very easily influenced or hit by trash, right? And we've also made a lot of business decisions, such as there are requests for, hey, can you facilitate an overnight here? And we're like, no overnights. Not on. If you want to do an overnight, you'll just talk to them directly. But we're not going to coordinate it for you because the trash system is not ready, right? And I've run a surf hostel. I know what tourists do at night, right? No matter what they promise you, they will do anything in the dark. And if you're visiting someone's home, someone's village, you can't have a tourist mindset if you're sleeping in their house, because you're not a tourist, you're a guest, and the norms are completely different. So I have had experiences where I fight with the visitor because, hey, that's not appropriate. You can't do that, right? This ain't your 5-star hotel vacation. This is something else. We're visitors here, so you must respect what goes on locally. So there's that thing. I think that comes to mind, right? The other one is there's also just the very simple, like training. You don't want to set people up for failure, so you want to bring people when the place can actually, when you can connect the best of the visitor to the best of the host, right? So that in a sense you're kind of matchmaking so that they get along, because they're normally from very different experiences, right? And I'll use a food example. We had this one village where they wanted to host already, but their food was not, they could cook well, but they chose the wrong thing. So the first 3 groups of guests, they kept serving paksiw. And there's nothing wrong with paksiw, but most foreign guests don't like paksiw. And so we got they got very poor reviews for the food. And I was like, no, why did you serve that? So coming from that perspective, it's like, okay, we really need to prepare. We need to understand better. And because there's a lot you can offer. It's just a matter of understanding each other's perspectives, right? And then just very quickly, see, Bryce said there's a comment on individual efforts don't work because the big corporations continue. I disagree a lot, right? There's a saying in the Philippines that the law is optional, right? But there is a law that's new, the EPR law, which is requiring large corps to take in plastic. It's not optional, and you know why? Because a lot of individuals are demanding it of their suppliers, right? So the example I remember, because I started giving talks on plastic reduction as early as 2016, and by 2018, Unilever, which is a multinational, and Human Nature, a social enterprise, both of them received a lot of clamor from their customers that, hey, give us an option for less waste or we will switch brand. And a lot of people switched brand. And you know what happened? The 2 companies had to comply. They tried, right? And so I think the individual helps, right? But you have to do your part and share the story. Because from where I'm sitting, in 2016, this thing would never have happened. But a lot of stories, and now there's a plastic tax. Now there are startups making millions because they sell personal care without plastic packaging, right? Those started with stories from individuals. So Bryce, don't lose hope. Keep telling the stories that need to be told.
Thank you so much, Raf, for those really good insights. Unfortunately, Conrad already left us because he has another appointment. Thank you so much, Conrad, for joining us. And we are actually down to our final comments from our speakers. This has been really interesting and engaging. But and thank you to our viewers and participants for being so engaged and asking your questions. So related to what you just said, Raf, about individual action, maybe we are down to our call to action, since we're talking about individual action. So after this, this webinar, what are steps that we can do to, contribute to sustainability, to organic agriculture, to protecting, or to, working with the indigenous peoples? So for both Chef JR and Raf, maybe we can start with Chef JR.
Yeah, I guess taking from our ancestors, simple lessons. We have to be self-sufficient. We have to be able to produce our own food. I think that's in some conversations that act can also be considered as patriotic, aside from logical. Grow your own food. Know where you are sourcing your food. Be conscious about your ingredients, about how they're being raised, how they're being cared for. Those are very simple foundations that we could all start practicing ASAP. I guess having that connection, you don't necessarily, if you don't have the time, if you don't have the means to visit indigenous groups or other areas in the Philippines, the most simplest, I guess, tip or takeaway that I can leave with you guys is you really have to start thinking how you can provide for your own self. Plant your own petchay, grow your own lettuce, have a chicken or two. That's a good start. That would always be a good start. And then that kind of thinking would eventually branch out to other areas that are as essential as the sustenance, as the sourcing of our own food. So I guess that's one of the things that we have to really look into when it comes to what the indigenous people have given us. Self-reliance is definitely one of them.
Thank you so much, JR, for that. Raf?
Maybe what I can suggest is there are certain books that I hope you can read to educate yourself on the challenges of the planet, right? I'll put them in the chat, right? And they're not perfect books. Speed and Scale is a book about plans for the climate, right? So the lifestyle changes we need to protect our environment and our economy, right? The other one is it's written by Bill Gates, but he also proposes interesting ideas of what to do. Right? Again, they're not perfect and encompassing books, but they do give a lot of scientific suggestions on what you can do. Right? So that's one thing I suggest: read up, educate yourself, because even our school system's trying to catch up with it. Right? Then the other thing is bring your baonan, bring your Tupperware, bring your own water container, and please don't use plastic as much as possible. Plant your trees, save your seeds, and if you can't plant them, send us the seeds. We'll plant it for you. Right? Happy to do that. There's so many resources in everyone's home. And yet our Department of Agriculture, if you look at the wait list for farmers asking for seeds, it's a long list, because I've been down that route. And so we started saving our own seeds just because we didn't want to wait for the national government or the local government in their cycle, right? We have seeds coming out of our houses every day, right? So take those small steps. And don't forget to, if you want to chat, please message us. Happy to have a conversation.
Thank you so much to our amazing speakers, Chef JR, Raf, and also Conrad. Thank you for those really great insights and perspectives about organic agriculture, about indigenous people's culture, about sustainability, and about the things that we can do to contribute in our own way. And I'd like to reiterate, yes, individual action, they do matter. They are part of the bigger puzzle of solving all these many environmental problems, including the climate crisis. So yes, individual action, they do matter. Okay, so I guess that brings us to the end of this live stream. But before we let you go, I'd like to request everyone to please turn on your cameras. So we'll have our obligatory, photos on Zoom. So if you're on Zoom, please if you can turn on your cameras, and we'll have a quick screenshot and to commemorate this event. So the tech team will help us take a screenshot. All right. So please look at the camera. Is our tech team ready? Yeah, ready? Okay, look at the camera and smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold your smile. I think we're moving to another. Yeah, okay, there you go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. So did we get that, tech team? We're good? All right, all good. Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to all our participants on Zoom, those who are watching on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much. Please give us a like or a heart, or give your comments. And like what our speaker said, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to them. They provided their socials there, so yeah, reach out and have an amazing day. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye, and happy
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Indigenous Peoples Month.
How to get a certificate of attendance?
Welcome to the Naturland Philippines YouTube channel. We
The
created this
organizers
channel
will be
to share with
providing
you the
that to
great
you.
news. And together,
I guess through
we
the
can
email
build an organic
that you have used
future.
for the registration.
We
Otherwise,
are
you
one
can
of the
also
largest
feel free to
international organic
message
farmers
us.
associations in the world. And we have built a network
Thanks, everyone.
of certified organic producers, processors, and retailers in 60 countries, including the Philippines, one of the 18 mega biodiverse countries in the world. In this channel, you are in for a journey wherein you will learn everything and anything about what it means to be organic and how you can take part in bridging the gap between the farmers, the consumers, and the environment. In the Philippines, we already have 3,270 smallholder farmers with our certification. We hope that with your help, we can grow this number and sustain our support for them as they bring their organic quality produce to the stores that also support our cause. So what are you waiting for? One way to start building our organic future is to share this great news. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And together, let's take it to heart the guiding organic and social principles of Naturland. We are organic. We are the future. Together, organic worldwide.